أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يوم يكشف عن ساق ويدعون إلى السجود فلا يستطيعون خاشعة أبصارهم ترهقهم ذلة وقد كانوا يدعون إلى السجود وهم سالمون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful, may the peace and blessings of Allah the Exalted be upon the Prophet Muhammad and his purified progeny, and may the damnation of Allah the Exalted be upon their enemies. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Holy Quran, يوم يكشف عن ساق ويدعون إلى السجود فلا يستطيعون خاشعة أبصارهم ترهقهم ذلة وقد كانوا يدعون إلى السجود وهم سالمون. Allah Azza wa Jal says, remember the day when the shin shall be laid bare, and they will be called to make sujood, so prostration, but they will not be able to do so. And then the verse after this says that their looks shall be cast down, or their eyes shall be cast down, abasement will overtake them, and they were called upon to make sujood while they were safe. So in this world they were called to make sujood, but they did not do so. So some translations of this verse in the Holy Quran say that the shin shall be revealed. And what I want to do, inshallah ta'ala, in the next recordings is discuss some of these verses in the Holy Quran which some people use to affirm certain attributes to Allah the Exalted, one of these being a shin. So when analyzing this verse, firstly we should say the following. The verse doesn't use any possessive pronoun where it says saquhu or saqihi, that it is the shin of Allah Azza wa Jal. It says in this verse that the saq, so the shin, shall be laid bare or revealed. So this is one point to note in the verse. It does not say Allah Azza wa Jal's shin, as some try to imagine. And even if it did say saq, as in saqihi, we would then explain, okay, what does this mean? Because we can say Allah Azza wa Jal, his hand, for example. Does that automatically mean that it goes to the first meaning of a physical or literal type of hand? No. So even if the verse said saqihi, referring with the pronoun referring to Allah Azza wa Jal, it doesn't automatically mean that one would take it on that type of understanding. But the verse doesn't say that. It says يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ, a day when the shin shall be laid bare. So when some read this verse, يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ, they assume that it will be a type of shin revealed. So let us see the following clips before we start commenting and analyzing this verse to see what some of the Salafiyyah or Nawasib say in regard to this verse and their understanding.
When we discuss Aqidah, we're right there, man. I say to any person on earth, Allah has a face. Allah has two eyes. Allah has two hands. Allah has a foot. Allah has a shin.
And he has, and the brother, and they're speaking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the things he's saying, okay, he's getting it from the Salaf in a sense, but the way he's putting it together and he's adding it all together, and he has a shin.
The day when the shin shall be laid bare. In according to a hadith in Bukhari, this shin is the shin of Allah.
And he has a foot.
Then Allah Ta'ala places his foot in hellfire.
Khalas, he's putting the whole picture of the man in the head of the person.
Yes, it's clear and explicit.
You go and tell your kids that. Go and tell a 5-year-old Allah has a shin.
This shin is the shin of Allah.
Yani in that sentence. This is the most dumb pedagogy I've ever seen in my life.
Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters. So now this clip, which was not too long ago, shows Muhammad Hijab becoming very frustrated and having problems at what Abu Mus'ab, or whatever his name is, whatever this individual was saying. Now it's like the intrinsic nature, the fitrah of Muhammad Hijab kicked in, where when he actually heard all the Salafi types of beliefs packaged up in one, and we say Salafi beliefs because we have the Ash'ariyah, the Ash'aris, who they may try to say similar arguments to the Shia and not affirm what they are affirming. However, where's their proof for that? Because obviously the Salafis are following the sources of the sect that refers to itself as Ahlul Sunnah. We see that Muhammad Hijab was disturbed when the Salafi beliefs were packaged all in one. And he was frustrated with this individual, saying that when you put all of these beliefs together, it gives a mental image of a man. So this person, Abu Mus'ab, or whatever his name is a well-known Salafi speaker, and I believe he studied at Medina University. He was just merely stating what they believe. But again, it's like Muhammad Hijab's fitrah kicked in, his intrinsic nature, and he couldn't take these types of attributes all being put together because he knew it forms the image of a man. So as we see with the Salafiyyah, they believe that Allah Azza wa Jal has a shin. And no, this is not something metaphorical. They believe that on the Day of Judgment, Allah Azza wa Jal, when He says that يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ, that He will actually reveal a type of shin in order for Him to be recognized by His creation. So we see that Abu Mus'ab, when he puts all of these things together, it does create the image of a man. But what I would say is that, of course, yes, this is merely in their books. We need to distinguish between what is the true Islamic belief in these types of attributes and what is that of the mujassimah, those who give Allah Azza wa Jal a body. And I doubt that Muhammad Hijab himself will end up becoming Ash'ari, but it seems that sometimes he mixes, and even in my debate when we called him Salafi, he seemed to get frustrated, so he picks and chooses. But when these Salafi beliefs are put there, he actually has a problem with this, and within this clip he was attacked by other Salafis for questioning such things. And we always hear this objection raised by the Salafiyyah towards the Shia. What do they say? They say, we only affirm the attributes which Allah Azza wa Jal has affirmed for Himself. You're rejecting the attributes. What we reply to them is that we say, do not be a donkey. No Muslim is rejecting what Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Holy Quran. But there are plenty of verses which are muhkam and mutashabihat, and the mutashabihat needs to return to the muhkam verses. So we'll have verses which are very clear on the apparent reading, and then certain verses which some may say are more ambiguous, but when returned to the clear verses, they all are explained clearly. So what we would say is no, when Allah Azza wa Jal, for example, let's say that they forget Allah so He forgot them, or Allah misguides who He wills, or Allah created with His hands, we say that no one from the Muslims would be rejecting these. And the Shia do not reject them. Rather, it is the understanding of these certain verses. So this objection from the Salafiyyah when they say that, oh, you guys, we're just affirming how Allah said His attributes. If one would use such a type of logic where they just say that, no, for example, Allah misguides in a way that befits His majesty. No, we would say that Allah Azza wa Jal told us to ponder upon the Quran and return to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam to see what the correct interpretation of such verses are, or what is the true interpretation of such verses. So, as we have shown now from the clips, we showed that the Salafiyyah say that Allah Azza wa Jal will reveal His shin on the Day of Judgment, and they have not taken this metaphorically, they have taken this literally. We have shown Abu Mus'ab saying these types of attributes and confirming them all, which give one the mental image of a man, and Muhammad Hijab being annoyed at this. And after this, I say that every Shi'i should ask a Salafi this question. And some of them have been asked this question before, and they don't know how to respond after that. I remember one Shia scholar also asked them, and we said that, okay, Allah has a hand, Allah has a face, Allah has two eyes, Allah has a shin, Allah has feet. And all of these, we say, okay, this is not metaphorical with another meaning. No, it's in the real and literal sense. So when a Salafi comes to a Shi'i and says that, yep, face, hands, feet, literal, 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 then we should respond and say, okay, how is your Allah one? You've just affirmed different parts for Allah Azza wa Jal. You've said all of them are literal. They can't all be one part. Rather, you've affirmed each different part for Allah Azza wa Jal. So how is your God one? You say that, oh, we believe in Tawhid, we are muwahhideen, but at the same time, you've just literally and separately attributed all of these parts to Allah Azza wa Jal in the literal sense. So every Shi'i should ask a Salafi, how is your God one? This is one question that should be directed towards them. Now, as for the tafsir of the Shia, which Quranic exegesis do the Shia give for the Shin in this verse? Because as we said, it does not say the Shin of Allah, it says the day that the Shin shall be laid bare or revealed. Let us firstly go to some ahadith which have been attributed to the Imams alayhim salam. When we look in Kitab al-Tawhid of Shaykh Saduq, we find in one of the chapters that there are 3 hadiths, 3 narrations pertaining to the Shin that is mentioned in this verse. The first one being attributed to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. So someone asked the Imam about this type of verse, because what we need to understand, dear brothers and sisters, is that the Salafi mujassim teaching, where they give literal body parts to Allah Azza wa Jal, is not something new to this time. Rather, this type of thinking was going around at the times of the Imams alayhim salam, and the Imams had to answer this because some of their followers or different people would come and they would say to the Imams, okay, what does this verse mean? So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, someone asked him, on the day when there shall be a severe affliction, or that the Shin shall be laid bare, because obviously there's different translations. The Shin will be revealed, the Shin will be laid bare, a severe affliction. This is how it's been translated here. But he asked about the verse a person. So he lifted the clothing that covered his shin. So the Imam goes down to his clothing, lifts it up, which covers the shin, placed his hand on his head and said, "Glory be to my Lord, the Most High." And in the Arabic it says that the Imam said, "Subhana Rabbiyal A'la." So what Shaykh Saduq comments on this hadith, and of course it's obvious from the action that the Imam did by showing his shin and then saying that Allah Azza wa Jal is more exalted and more high than this basically. What did the Imam mean? Shaykh Saduq comments on this hadith and he says that the meaning of the statement Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, and of course we say this in sujood, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdi. He says the meaning of the statement Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, glory be to my Lord the Most High, is that Allah the Mighty and High is far exalted from having human attributes like a shin. So it seems that some people were coming to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam saying that these mujassimah, the Salafiyyah of that time, are saying that Allah Azza wa Jal has a shin. So the Imam demonstrated to them by showing his shin, saying that this type of human attribute cannot be given to Allah Azza wa Jal. And when a word is used which may be similar, where the only tashbih, the only comparison is within the word, not in the reality at all, then this cannot be applied in that sense how people were thinking. So we have in this hadith that the Imam negated the physical type of jism that some of the mujassimah gave to Allah Azza wa Jal. So how should we understand this verse if we don't take it in this literal sense? So as we know, the Quran is a book of eloquence which uses many metaphors. And in order for people to understand the Holy Quran, what they also do is refer back to poetry of the Arabs of the time to see what kind of language they also use. Because as we know, Allah Azza wa Jal, He targeted it at the people of that time and for all times, but specifically that time, to show them that your poetry cannot compare to the Quran, which is the very peak of eloquence at that time. And of course, throughout all of the centuries and until now, which cannot be matched. So we find that the Quran used many metaphors, and many of the people of Jahiliyyah, they would be proud of their type of language and poetry and use some of these metaphors. So we see that among the experts of language and even the non-Shia experts of Arabic language, if we go to sources such as Lisan al-Arab of Ibn Manzur, a well-known dictionary that is used by many people and referenced by them when discussing the Arabic language, we find the definitions and the meanings of this phrase of the shin being laid bare and revealed. So among the experts of language, they will say that the shin being laid bare indicates the seriousness of a matter, a great fear of a certain matter, a feeling of terror and desperation. So in the Arabic language, as according to many of the experts of the Arabic language, as well as those Arabs back in that time, when one would say that the shin has been laid bare or that the shin will be revealed, this is indicating the seriousness of a matter, just like on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. It is a serious matter that many will have terror and fear on. Therefore, Allah Azza wa Jal uses this statement or this type of language to indicate that the Day of Judgment will be a serious matter. Again, the seriousness of a matter and feeling of terror or fear and desperation. This is what many of the experts of language will say. And as we know, many on the Day of Judgment, they will be in fear and terror because on that day, they will be judged with either reward or with punishment, and they will have to answer to all of the sins that they did in this world. And even objects which were inanimate will testify against them. So I showed Ibn Manzur of Lisan al-Arab, and we showed how he indicates that the shin being laid bare or the shin being revealed indicates a matter of seriousness, of fear, of terror, an important matter. But we also find, for example, Sayyid Muhammad Shirazi in his tafsir of the Quran, Taqrib al-Quran. This tafsir, of course, it was a concise tafsir of the whole of the Quran. If someone just wants a quick tafsir of one of the verses, he mentions as well about the language aspect of the shin being revealed. For example, he says, the shin is laid bare, the day the leg is bared. When fear is paramount, it is said that a person bares his legs by raising his clothes and making it easier for himself to flee. So if someone has a long garment, for example, and they want to flee because of fear, let's say in the battlefield, or some people are chasing them or pursuing them, they would lift up this garment and it would help them to run faster. So again, and making it easier for himself to flee, so that the loose clothing does not get caught up in his legs. This expression indicates terror. So Sayyid Muhammad Shirazi is saying that at that time, in the Arabic language, when one would say that the shin is laid bare or the shin is revealed, it was linked to this matter of someone running and lifting up their garments to run faster, and it would indicate terror. Therefore, when one links this to the phrase, they can understand that the shin being laid bare is to indicate a very strong and important matter, or a matter of terror. So again, Sayyid Muhammad Shirazi says, when fear is paramount, it is said that a person bares his legs by raising his clothes and making it easier for himself to flee, so that the loose clothing does not get caught up in his legs. The expression indicates terror. Therefore, when Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ وَيُدْعَوْنَ إِلَى السُّجُودِ فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ, it is indicating that on that day, a serious matter, a matter of terror, which is the Day of Judgment, will happen. And the things within the Day of Judgment, because there are different things that people will see which will give some terror, this will be revealed to all. And then some will try to make sujood, but due to their hypocrisy, they will not be able to do this. Because in this world, they had the chance to make sujood and worship Allah Azza wa Jal. But on that day, due to their terror and fear, they say, let's make sujood now. But as we know it is too late. And for this reason, one should use their time wisely in this world in order for them to gain the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, so that on Qiyamah they will be able to enter Jannah and their judgment will not be as hard as compared to those who have many sins and wronged many people, or who did much oppression in this life. So again, this verse indicates that a great matter, a terrifying matter will occur, and it does not mean that Allah Azza wa Jal comes and reveals some physical type of shin. But please join us for the next episode, where we will go into more narrations from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, as well as the opinions of some of the scholars of the so-called Ahlul Sunnah, and we will also show a hadith from their books to show what they believe the shin being revealed means. So we just showed one hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam for this episode, where it indicates that he was saying Allah is way exalted above having a shin, and he lifts up his garment, and we will continue in the next episode, so please join us. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum al-amadah.